Hi everybody! Today I'm going to be trying something that I've been wanting to try for quite a while, but I haven't quite built up the courage to do because it is quite a brave thing to be trying in your colouring books. And what that is coffee spill art. I'm not sure if any of you have seen that around Facebook or Google or on the internet anywhere, but if you haven't, basically what it is an artist takes a sheet of paper, in this case I'm using a colouring book page, they drop a splash of coffee into the middle, quite a big splash of coffee, spread it around, maybe make a nice interesting pattern of a stain going on, then they wait for it to dry, draw around the edges of the stain with a fine liner, and then actually work into the coffee stain and just draw in the area where the coffee stain is covering. So I thought that might be quite interesting to try in my colouring books. I have seen one or two people online who have actually tried it, and yeah, I've just about plucked up the courage to have a go myself, and I thought it might go with my theme this month, which is the Orient, China, Japan, Korea, those kind of oriental countries, the Far East, and I thought it would fit in quite well with the idea of maybe ancient Chinese painting, brush painting onto the parchment style paper, just using black, white and red, and I thought that might work quite well. I have played with that idea before, but not quite in this way, and this is the page that I've chosen to try out this coffee spill kind of colouring style. This is from a book by Dada Mau. It's this one here, there's the front cover. I'm sure you've seen these on AliExpress. They used to be on Book Depository, I know, but that has closed down now. I think I did get most of mine from AliExpress, and if you type in ancient Chinese colouring book into AliExpress, you do come up with a variety of these. They all have different covers, they are all completely different books. This is the one that I've chosen to work in, and I've written down the title as being Ancient Beauty, but I could be wrong on that one. That's what I've written down as the title, so yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the cover anyways. I'll show the barcode info if anybody is thinking of getting that one, and obviously the cover is the one with the blue foil. This is the image that I've chosen to work with, because if I'm using the colours of white, black and maybe red, I thought maybe the flowers could be white or red. I could work in some makeup, maybe give her some white makeup on her skin for the traditional kind of Japanese makeup. I don't know, we'll have to see how it goes, because I really do have no idea how this is going to go, and I'm talking so much because yeah, I'm building up my courage to be doing this. But yeah, I put down some newspaper in my background. You can see here newspaper in the background. I have used a masking tape to tape down just a sheet of typing paper, printer paper over there to maybe protect, hopefully stop the coffee from going down into the spine of the book, because I have problems with that with paint occasionally, that has happened. And I have put a few sheets of scrap paper behind the page as well, because coffee does have a tendency to leak through, especially if there's a big pool of it, which is what I am actually aiming for today, a big pool of coffee that I'm going to let dry and then just colour the area that's inside the coffee stain. So wish me luck, guys. I have actually made up a tiny little bit of instant coffee, and I've made it in the lid of the coffee jar. See that there? That's what I'm going to be spilling onto my page and hopefully working back into. So there's no way to do this, but just to leap right in, and there we go. Yeah, I have gone into the spine of that book, which I pretty much thought I would, but hopefully the paper will be saving the page on the other side there, and that has made quite an interesting pattern. So this part here, once it has dried, that will be the area that I am colouring. I'm just mopping up a bit of excess with the tissue there, and hopefully that might protect the next page from getting coffee stains, although yeah, it's nothing that you can't really work with. I'll maybe get some kitchen roll and mop up a little bit of this where it's become a little bit too much of a puddle. That might be a little bit too shiny once it's dried there, I think, so I'll just grab some kitchen roll and mop that up, and I'll get back to you once this has actually dried. It's actually a few days later now. We can see that our coffee has dried there. And I did go in with some kitchen towel and mop up a lot of this puddle that we had happening on this side of the page, because I thought if that dried, it might end up being a little bit too shiny to work on top of with the coloured pencils, which is, I think, what I'm planning to do. I'm not sure. I might bring in some gouache paint, but I haven't quite decided. And it's worked out quite well, I think. I do love the shape we've ended out with. I love the way that the coffee goes off the edges of the page here, both sides of the page. So yeah, it was a really good idea to put the newspaper down and protect my working area while I was doing that. The paper that we did stick along the edge of this page here to protect the previous pages seems to have done its job as well, because yeah, there doesn't seem to be a lot of staining gone through at all. There are a couple of little stains, if I can get them into focus, along the edge of the spine there, here where the stitching comes in, but it's nothing that we can't deal with if we do decide to colour these pages. That'll be easily covered up. But this is the one we are actually colouring today. The next step is to go around all the edges of this coffee spill to kind of define the area that we're going to be working in. And to do that, I'll be using a Uni-Pin fine liner. This is 01, which I think will be thick enough, but not too thick that it distracts from the lines of the actual colouring. So I'm going to go ahead and go around the edges of this coffee stain here, and I'll catch up with you when I'm done. Alrighty, I've gone around the edge of all that coffee spill with the black fine liner pen. Maybe not as accurately as I could have, and I can see quite a few places now where I have kind of gone off the main line that I'm supposed to, but I can go back and fill that in with a bit of colour if I feel like it's detracting at all from the colouring, but yeah, it shouldn't really matter. Anyways, what I've decided to do is to colour her with the Albrecht Durer pencils, because this paper seems to take watercolour quite well, water mediums. It has buckled, you might be able to see here. The paper has buckled a little bit from that coffee, but there was a lot of coffee in this area, so that probably contributed to that. And I've picked out all the colours that I had that were kind of in the red, brown or gold kind of colour bands. I'll show you what I've picked out here. I might use all of these, I might not. I've just picked them out because this is the kind of colour palette that I do want to be going with. I have the middle purple pink that I've picked out, scarlet red, that's the burnt ochre, that one is magenta, we have, I think that's walnut brown, Van Dyke brown, the Payne's grey, this one is deep scarlet red, that's the black, and this one is more of a gold, light yellow ochre, more of a gold colour, that one. I've also brought over the gold gel pen, just the Uniball Signo gold gel pen for a few little details I thought. And I have tried earlier, I don't know if that's picking up on camera, you can see I've tried out the black and the grey for her hair, which seemed to be working quite well. But I did also try using the white pencil because I want her face to be the white kind of geisha sort of inspired makeup. Probably not completely traditional geisha, but yeah, with the white face, red lipstick, maybe a little bit of red around her eyes. And I tried with the white pencil, but that wasn't showing up. So what I'm planning to do for that is bring in the white gouache paint. Winsor & Newton Designer's Gouache Permanent White is what I'll probably use to try and do her face. And I'm thinking the flowers. So that's the kind of idea I'm having at the moment for the way the colours are going to go. As usual, of course, I have not planned. I have not planned things out totally in my head. And I'm just going to activate this black that I've used on her hair here to show that, yeah, these pencils, the Albrecht Durer pencils, do seem to be working okay over the coffee, which is my main concern, like would the coffee bleed into it? The paper isn't actual watercolour paper, so yeah, this isn't the best that these pencils will work, but I thought it might go again with the traditional kind of Chinese, Japanese art that I'm aiming for, the kind of vibe. Excuse my throat, I think I'm coming down with kind of a cold or flu at the moment. That was the black and the Payne's grey that I've used to shade her hair there, and I'll show you how I was doing that. I was mainly picking out the main shadow areas, which are already drawn for us, so yeah, that's all good. We do have a few strand lines, the strands of hair going on there, and I don't want to go too complicated because kind of Japanese brush arts or Chinese brush arts is fairly simple. I think I'm not an expert on it, but they seem to use the least amount of strokes possible to get the really simple but flowing art. So I'm trying to keep this really simple without going into too many strand lines or anything like that. And I'm trying to keep the little speckles we had from adding the grains and granules of coffee. I'm trying to keep those because I do love how they look. Of course, this is all, as usual, a bit of an experiment for me. I haven't actually used watercolour pencils on top of coffee before, I think. The last time I did it, I used my Castle Arts and Arteza, which worked fine, but I thought I might like to try and play about with the Albrecht Durers a little bit more because it was such fun last time. Also, there's the quickness factor and the fact that it does match in with the aesthetic kind of the ancient Chinese kind of brush art, which I'm inspired by, obviously not completely following the rules of, but just inspired by keeping to the limited palette of the kind of gold and brown parchmenty colours, and then bringing in the black and the red. This is the Payne's Grey, just for maybe a little bit lighter shading in her hair there. I might bring in the white, I think, as well. There we go, I'm just activating that. Once it's dry, I may go back over with the black, see if we can intensify that black a little bit more. Because with the kind of Japanese ink that they use for these ink paintings, it's a really nice, rich black, so I'd like that to be happening. But again, it's just the kind of aesthetic, the vibe that I'm going for, to remind people of that more than anything, and just use the colours as inspiration. I've gone over onto her neck or throat a little bit there, but that's where I'm going to be adding the white gouache. Because when I looked up the geisha makeup, it seemed to cover the face and the neck. So what I've done is I've shaded underneath her chin here with the lightest brown. This is the burnt ochre that I've shaded onto her chin there, just slightly underneath where her chin comes over her neck, to give a little bit of shading under there. And I'm going to try and add the white gouache paint along the edge of her neck, where the light would be coming. I'm hoping the paper will take all this water. I'm not entirely sure. In fact, let's go ahead and try that now while I am actually thinking about it. I've just got a little palette here. I'm just going to add a little bit of the white gouache onto the palette and see if we can work in with that. A little bit haphazard, my usual kind of style. So yeah, apologise for being a little bit disorganised, but yeah, you should be used to that by now. If you've watched a few of my videos, you'll be used to that. Okay, so just mixed up a little bit of that white gouache. I'm going to bit along this side of her neck, and then take a brush with a little bit of clean water and try and blend that out maybe. And as usual, not the neatest, not the neatest painter by any stretch. But this is the base coats anyways. We can always go back and touch up. Paint that white into the water, try and maybe get a few little effects going on. I don't want any harsh lines really, especially not on her skin. Go back with a black there. Yeah, that's going to work quite well, I think. I think I might end up maybe taking the Van Dyke brown, darkening this shadow a little bit. Paper is still a little bit damp here, so I'm being fairly careful. I think this might be a shadow marked here, actually. So I'll try and bring that brown down there. Hopefully not totally ruin the picture here, but there does seem to be a little bit of a shadow coming down there, which I think would mean that our light would be coming from the top there. Interesting. Might be getting a little close to overworking the paper there while it's still a bit too damp, so I'm going to move on to her face now and just try and shade the same using the burnt ochre and trying to figure out how her face would look if our light was coming kind of that way. So I'm guessing there would be shading here, but I do want a little bit of red to come in around her eyes, and we'd have some shade under here, I would imagine. I don't really want to bring in any cold greys though. I want to keep most of the colour palette the kind of warm colours. So let me see. What would this middle purple pink look like? We maybe give her some blushy cheeks with that. which seemed to be happening in the geisha pictures I was looking at. But I want the red of her lips to really stand out and some red around her eyes maybe. So let's try and blend in that pink just on her cheeks and see how we go there. Maybe with a bigger brush. This paper does not seem to be taking the water as well as I'd hoped. I have used these books before with kind of watercolour mediums and it has worked quite well, but that could be because that we've based the whole page with the coffee and the paper isn't particularly happy about it. This is the Scarlet Red, just playing and trying to see what effect we can get with the makeup here. At the moment, like most pictures, it's going through a stage where I'm not entirely sure that this is working, but most of my pictures do seem to go through that stage, so maybe I should just trust the process and carry on regardless, as they say. Maybe once bits start to dry, we'll be able to go in, maybe shade a little more. Well, that's kind of working how I expected it to. I'll have to wait for her cheeks to dry, I think, to see what kind of effects we've got going on there. Hopefully, yeah, it does seem to be drying into some nice kind of blobby watercolour effects. With a bit of luck, that's what we'll be able to work with there. Again, sorry for my throat. It's kind of hard to visualise where this light is coming from because it's not an angle that I typically have my light coming from when I am colouring, where I like to put them in my portrait drawings. And typically if I was, well, that seems to have worked. I've brought in the black just to try and blend that shadow into her actual hair there underneath her chin. So that's worked to make that look a little bit more defined there. Let's go on and do this part of her hair while we're waiting for her face to dry. So while her face is drying, I'll just work on her hair on this side. As I've said, at the moment, I'm not entirely sure that this is actually going to work, but even if it doesn't, you've kind of come along the journey with me, and we know that, yeah, you can't really use this method in these Chinese books. It was worth a try, though. I've been wanting to do this coffee splat art for a while. Oh, it's so hard to say, coffee splat art. So hard to say, but yeah, I've been meaning to try it for ages, but you do need to be quite brave, I think, to just splat a load of coffee into your colouring books, and I wouldn't really recommend it for double-sided colouring books because it does have a tendency to leak through the page. I'm not sure if it actually did. Yeah, you can see it has leaked through the page there. If we can see that on camera, it has leaked through quite a lot. And then colouring pencils do seem to also be leaking through. The Albrecht Durer pencils seem to be leaking through. I'm not sure if that is because of the coffee we put onto the page first or not. It has dried for a few days, to be honest with you, because I put it to one side and then I got involved with other things. I have actually been playing a lot of World of Warcraft this month, to be honest. So not as much colouring time as I would usually have. But yeah, my other half bought me the new expansion for Christmas. So yeah, I've been getting back into World of Warcraft. There we go, that's the black. Let's bring in the Payne's Grey. No camera. Getting quite hard to keep on camera. I think I am on camera. Keeping inside this edge of the coffee spill, so that is the whole point. We're going to have this inside of the coffee to be coloured and the outside to just be the black and white drawing. There are variations. I've seen some people do colour inside the coffee splat and then grayscale on the outside. I've also seen some artists that do this with drawings. They do their drawing of the portrait or face or whatever it is, they splat on the coffee, wait for it to dry, and they rub out everything that's outside the coffee splat. So like the whole piece of art, the whole drawing is actually inside the coffee splat, which I think is pretty fun as well. But it does make things a little bit interesting. It gives you a little bit of a different outline, different border or frame to be working with. I do love using coffee in my colouring books, as you all know. So yeah, it's something I've been wanting to try out. Haven't tried it with art yet either. It's a bit scary to be, well, it's scary enough to be throwing the coffee in your colouring book, and throwing it down on your own actual piece of artwork would be very intimidating. But we'll wait and see how this turns out, and you never know, I might try it. I was thinking as well of maybe painting a whole picture just with coffee. And there's one in Christine Claren's Wildflower Folk book with, if I remember right, there's a lady who's drinking a cup of coffee or chocolate, like in a cozy jumper, drinking a cup of coffee. And I thought, oh, it would be amazing to try and colour that just with coffee, like making a few lots of this instant coffee, just like I've used in the background, and making it in different strengths and trying to paint a picture with it. Maybe using a lot of layering to try and get the darker tones. Might be interesting, but again, I love that book, so I really don't want anything to be going wrong in it, which is quite scary. I'd love to try though. I might scan it into the computer just in case and see if I can get that going, because that would be super fun. Okay, her face seems to be drying okay, actually. So I'm going to try shading some of the lighter areas with the white brush. See what we can get going on. Again, trying to keep within that coffee stain kind of outline, because that was the whole point of drawing it out. Might be a little bit hard just going in and doing the highlighted areas first, because usually I start to shade the shadows and work out from there. This part of the nose will be lit up, I think. Just give a little bit of contrast to that black hair as well, which might work quite nicely. As usual, I'm winging it. Not done anything like this before, really. Especially not painting on top of the coffee. Don't really want to cover that black line too much. I think we need to bring the light down her chin here. Give that contrast between her face and her neck. I think we need to deepen that red as well for her lips and her eyeshadow. We probably need to make her eyes white. Seems like we should bring in the white at the top of this cheekbone. Maybe blend it into the pink we had. That would help there, I think. But we would have some shadow at the side of her nose there, so I'll bring in the brown ochre, is it called? Burnt ochre. This kind of golden colour. Try and bring in here, and for her eye sockets, bring in the bigger brush again. I'm being a bit too tentative, I think. That's my problem here. We do want quite a lot of highlight there. Making our paint thicker down this edge, so it does look as if that is a lot lighter. I don't want to be too heavy-handed because, yeah, we are supposed to be delicate here. I'll maybe do that design on her forehead will maybe be gold, the gold gel pen. Highlights maybe there, I think. I have read that the easy way to remember where to put highlights on a face is to think about if you do highlight your face with makeup, it will be in exactly the same kind of places. But I don't wear a lot of makeup, so yeah, we're just making it up as we go along here. I do have white gel pen that I can bring in for a few last minute highlights. And we do want to bring in the burnt ochre here, I think. Not being too neat there because we're going to be activating that colour anyway. We do need a little bit of shadow there to show that her brow ridge is kind of three-dimensional, I guess is the word. And her eye sockets would be in some kind of shade there. Does that look sort of right? I think that looks sort of right. Still not entirely sure of this bit with the pink blush. Maybe I should have stuck to the red. Maybe I could go in with the red, actually. I'm hoping that this isn't where it all goes horribly wrong. Let's see what that does. Yeah, the paper is starting to peel there. So whatever makeup she has now, that's what you're going to get, lady. Okay, this is the deep scarlet red. Just add a little bit more to that makeup that we had given her. Quite like her makeup. I'm still not entirely sure about this cheek, but we can always give her gold freckles or a little design on her cheek or something. Maybe this will turn out to be a video on how to fix faces. I don't know, but let's carry on. I'm committed now. We're in this for the long haul. And I think these are supposed to be lotus flowers, so I'm going to put the white into the center of these flowers. Blend it out towards the end of the petals, I think, and see how that works. You can always go around these actual flower petals with the white gel pen. Now there's a thought. Wonder how that will look. Might be worth it just to try and see what it does look like. Try bringing in this white for my hair as well for a few little highlights. Kind of phrase of the day is trial and error, I think. Not entirely sure what is going on here or how any of this will be working. Maybe I should do the whole flower just with a couple of coats of white. The white is not showing up as well as I would have hoped on top of this coffee. It's definitely showing up better than the white pencil, but not as well as I would have hoped. Yeah, I think maybe giving those flowers just a whole couple coats of the white paint would be the order of the day. Because the colour does seem to be soaking into the coffee there and not really showing up as well as I would have hoped, so let that dry and move on to a few other bits that I'm starting to figure out what colours to do. I think her kimono, I guess this is the kimono, I'm not entirely sure, but a dress anyways, which should be the red. So I'm going to go in with just a scarlet red, give it kind of a base coat and try and tail off. So we're getting towards this edge here. Go, let's activate that red. Leading out onto that edge. Colour fades off towards the edge of her dress there. Well, so far my thought is that this is not as easy as it actually looks on the videos that I have watched myself. Definitely not as easy as people make it look. Fun though, definitely an interesting experience. Something I have been wanting to try, so definitely worth it for the learning factor. Can blend off those lines with the white gel pen. It is water soluble, so I'll try and blend those off a little bit. The gel pen is an old one, so my lines are a little bit wonky there. This is dry enough. We can see if we can deepen that black a little bit. Yeah, I think that's working. We can go in here as well. just to darken that black, make the shadows stand out, give a bit of contrast to what will hopefully be the white skin. I think her face does need to be a little lighter, so maybe layering is the key here. Try to avoid her cheek a little bit. That is not drying, not going exactly as planned, but you can't win them all, can you? You really can't. Let's just see what this looks like. We can maybe go in and shade it with the burnt ochre. Again with the cream cauliflowers, but yeah, this white is not standing out as much as I was hoping it would be. And he seems to be going through an ugly stage right now. Every picture does though, I think. Let's give us some pupils. Maybe might help. Burnt ochre and Van Dyke. Just shading this flower here with the burnt ochre. Is it burnt ochre? It is indeed. To define those petals a little bit after I've gone over them with the white gel pen. I've just done a few just to test the idea, see if I can make it work, using the same kind of theory that I used in my video where I did the cream flowers. We are going in with the Van Dyke Brown now to shade these flowers. Hopefully I was on camera, but I'll show again if I wasn't. Trying to avoid the gel pen around the edges. Just blending out that shading we've just done. So hopefully give the flower a little bit of form. They can't be as white as I wanted them to be because it just wasn't working, so we'll compromise. And it's blending in quite nicely because we do have that base coat of gouache there. Oh, I quite like that flower now, to be honest. Yeah, I like the way that's going. I'll carry on with that for the flowers, I think. Give them a coat of the white gouache. Gouache. Still not entirely sure how to say it, but yeah. And then shade with the burnt ochre and the Van Dyke Brown. Activate that. Go over the edges of the petals with the white gel pen, and that's giving quite a delicate looking lotus flower there. I'm guessing they're lotus. That is a complete guess. But this in the middle kind of reminds me of a lotus, so could just be cherry blossoms or something. No, they don't look like cherry blossoms, to be honest. While that dries, we'll go back to a kimono, and I've realised I've missed out a bit of the collar here. That I thought was actually hair, but looking at it again, yeah, I'm thinking this is kimono, so we'll just fill in this top bit here, and then give it a little bit of shade to the bottom part. This is the deep scarlet red that I'm just adding a little bit extra colour to this kimono. I'll activate that, and then after that we'll be working on top with the pencils dry, I think, because the paper is not taking too much water, and on her cheek, yeah, it was starting to pill a little bit there, so not entirely sure what I'm going to do about that still. Let's activate those. A bit of the colour that we missed. And then bring in that deeper scarlet red. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure the paper will take a lot more than that with the watercolour. Which is a shame because, yeah, as far as I knew, this paper was pretty good with watercolours. Maybe it is just because we put the coffee as the base coat. And that's really not helping. Okay, let's do a bit more here. We're waiting for things to dry. Again, apologise if my hand goes over anything that I'm doing. It's really hard to estimate where this camera is. And this is actually quite tricky to keep within those those lines of the coffee spill. But yeah, it does make for some interesting shapes, I will say that. So, distracted again. As I said, I was going to do this shape kind of on her forehead with the gold gel pen, so I'll just do that while I'm thinking about it. And I was going to do the spokes of her parasol. I was going to do those in gold as well. Not entirely sure how that will stand out from the coffee, but whether it will even work, but we'll try. And the spokes of a parasol I was going to do with gold as well. Now I've done all those spokes of the parasol, I think I thought maybe I could try defining her face a little bit just by using the pencils dry. Just to add a little bit more shape to it. This is the burnt ochre, which is a colour I usually use for skin anyway, so I figured it would work. I don't want to make her skin too dark because, as I said, we're supposed to be basing her looks on the white kind of geisha makeup. I'm not entirely sure how well that's working. Where's my purple pink? Let's see. Hopefully I'm not going to make this tons worse now. The pink is not happy. Here's a little bit of Van Dyke Brown. It's not worth abandoning a whole picture just because I'm not happy with how her cheekbone's looking, I don't think. The rest of it is looking fine. And I think, yeah, that the watchword will be layering. Maybe we'll activate around the edges a little bit. I don't want it to look too muddy. It seems to be seeping through the paper there, but hopefully that should dry good. I have faith in the process. Probably be a little bit quiet now, trying to figure out how to make things work here. Not entirely going how I thought it would, but yeah, it doesn't go perfectly every time, especially when you're trying something for the first time like this. I should have tested out the pencils on this paper first before I just jumped in with both feet, but yeah, that's just not me. I do jump in with both feet, and this is what happens. I have to work out ways to fix things. Try to stay away from that wet part on her face there. Get a little bit of her hair done. I'm not entirely sure how long I will be able to film, but I think I have showed you how I'm going about things and doing the shading, all that kind of stuff. I've told you my main plans, which are not coming to fruition right now, but you know the plans. Have some little dots on jewellery there. I can maybe stick some crystals on, which will be fun. Sparkle always makes things better, right? As I've said, not being too super neat with my hair strokes because we're going to activate this pencil. I think maybe just spacing out where each colour will go as each piece dries might help a little bit with figuring out which parts are actually inside this coffee spill and which are not. I do like how these edges kind of swoosh off the paper. It does make for a really interesting shape. It is, though, a little hard to tell where things end, where things begin. That's about all the hair we actually have, I think, inside our coffee spill. I think we might be able to activate that if we're careful. So I'm just going to add the little bit of Payne's grey now. Should be able to activate that now if we're careful. Alright, all our hair is activated now, and while that's drying, I think I'll go and give all these flowers, a little bit of all the ones that are inside our coffee splash anyway, give them a coat of the white gouache. And then it's kind of a case of leaving things to dry and moving around, I think. Working with lots of layers. It's starting to look okay now, though, I think. Maybe not as clean as some of my other works, not as neat. But I think for the actual idea, it should work. Not sure if some of these are flowers or leaves, so I might as well do the whole thing with the white, I guess. Shade it all the same. I'm going to add some gold gel pen for these strands of jewellery. Let's over the black lines, and then maybe stick on crystals for these little dots, just to have a little bit of fun. There is some on the other side, but I think I'll leave it till things start drying. We do have an earring here as well. I think this might be flowers behind her head, so I'll just give that a coat of the gouache. I haven't quite worked out what colour to do this handle for the parasol yet. We are working on that. You can actually colour on top of these pencils with the white. I'm not sure if this is Arteza or Polychromos. Could be Arteza. But yeah, you can actually colour on top of that black with the white. So let's see, once all our base coats are down, we can go in with the pencils dry and see what we can make happen. Her cheek is drying. It's sort of okay now. So yeah, I'm not too worried about that now. That's looking okay. Again, not as neat and tidy as I would probably do skin. I also bring this Payne's grey back in. Yeah, very slight difference in colour. Trusty white gel pen, let's bring that in. I don't want to get rid of too many of the coffee kind of stains that we've got going on in the background, because that was the whole point of doing this picture in the first place, to have the coffee kind of do its own thing in the background. But I'm not sure I can really do hair without giving it some white highlights, and that's looking, yeah, I'm quite happy with that. The way that's going there, this part, yep, really happy with that so far. Let's see what we can make of this kimono now. Give a bit of shading with the deep scarlet and the actual scarlet red. The colours will be a little duller than they would if you're using them on the white paper because of the coffee underneath. But I quite like the kind of vintage, subtle tone sometimes. Maybe we can bring in the white. Not sure if it's Arteza or Polychromos, as I said, but we can bring that in. This is the burnt sienna I've just grabbed there, and I'm adding in these twigs that the flowers are growing on. Just with the pencils dry, I don't think I'll be activating. Might go in with the white highlights again. Yeah. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see what is actually going on here. But it is just, I think, working back into dry now. Except for these flowers, which I did activate, I think, once I'd shaded with the burnt ochre. Was it burnt brown I shaded with? Yeah, and I went over the edges with the white gel pen, and I think that worked quite well for this flower here. And I thought maybe the inside, we could make that gold. Let's go over the line art with the gold. You can add the white gel pen for highlights as I usually do. I'll put it along the edge of this red kimono or dress. But I'm guessing that will probably soak through and end up being a light kind of pink colour, but yeah, I think it would still work. I'm just adding a little touch of the Van Dyke brown here for the shadow. And we don't want to make these flowers too dark. We don't want too much of that darker brown coming through. It's more white on the edges of those petals. I hope they're petals and not leaves. Some white highlights in the little middle of that flower there. Let's start working on this hair this side now. The face should in theory be dry, but I don't want to mess around with this cheek any more than I really have to, so I'll just colour this one, I think, with the pencils dry and hope for the best. Because yeah, that's sort of looking okay now. I do like the kind of little effects we've got going on with it. Not as bad as I thought, so yeah, maybe it was trusting the process. I was falling down on there. It could be better, of course, yes, but yeah, you can't win them all. You can't have everything be perfect. My face doesn't look quite as white as I was really planning it to, but it does look lighter than the background. So yeah, I think we could keep this working. I forgot to activate hair in this little bit here. Very, very thin splash we've got going up there, so kind of hard to make the hair look like hair. Might get away with adding a few little crystals for the jewellery. I hope so anyway. Try down here maybe. So we need a gold line there. There we go. Here a kind of oval shaped crystal there that seems to work quite well. Let's put the gold there. See if we can put one on the other side. Might be swinging out in front of our flower, but yeah, that's fun. Once I've done the hair, I'll see if I can find a little crystal to go there as well. I have some smaller ones. Just as white, kind of shiny, transparent star ones. Diamonds, if you will. So I don't really want to bring in any more colours than what we've actually got going. But I think a little bit of sparkle, yeah, a little bit of sparkle is always good. Let's bring in that Payne's Grey. I have been slightly less careful this side from the looks of it. Oh, and we have some strands of jewellery coming down there as well. Mark those in. Just by the by as well, I did find with this book in particular, I think, that the markers, when I tried to use alcohol markers on these pages, it ended up going really splodgy. So it could just be this book, I don't know. Because once it happened in this book, I didn't really use markers in any of my others, so I didn't want the same effect to happen. Not a terrible thing if you're happy to go in and shade with pencils over the top, then that's fine. But yeah, if anyone is thinking of using the alcohol markers in this book, I didn't get them working very well. I did end up saving the picture, but yeah, I had to work back in on top with pencils to smooth everything out. See if we can add a few highlights with this white. I think it's the Arteza white. And it does help to have some pencil down when... I found when using the white gel pen, it helps to have some pencil down underneath. Because then you can either scratch it off if you make a mistake, or I'm not entirely sure how well it does help stopping the colour underneath soaking through, which would be the coffee in this case, because yeah, white gel pen on top of coffee tends to go quite kind of beigey, creamy colour. Let's see if we can add a few highlights on this side. I especially like to put them on any hair that goes over the face, just to kind of bring the hair forward and show that it does come over the face. Just the way I like to do things though. I probably do go a little bit crazy with my white gel pen sometimes, but yeah, I have fun doing it. And I am starting to have fun with this one now. At first, as I was saying, not entirely sure that I knew where it was going, whether it was going to work, but yes, I think it really is working now. Maybe I should just let myself be a little bit looser and just accept sometimes skin isn't as smooth as you'd like it to be. This jewellery strand would be a little bit shiny as well. While I've got the pen out, I'll go over the petals of this flower. Should be dry by now. Not entirely sure if these are petals or leaves, but I'm colouring them as petals, so it is a little bit hard to be precise when you can't quite tell what's going on. So maybe this picture was a little bit too complicated to be choosing to try and test out this method. This is a lot more complicated than I thought. I picked this picture based on being able to use the colour palette that I had in mind, but maybe I should have also been thinking about how complicated it actually was. Especially down this part, it's kind of hard to see what is actually going on here. You can add a little crystal for her jewellery there. Now that hair is sorted, we can add one on the other side. That's all good. I'm really starting to like this now. We need to work out this hair here. I think we pretty much did. We have some more gold here with a jeweled hair clip with some description. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I might have gone a bit too far out of the coffee splash, but I don't think it's noticeable very much. Let's try and neaten this out a little bit. And then shadow with this jewellery. Guessing the shadow would be coming that way. You know what? Let's go a little bit more crazy than we really should. I do love using crystals. Yeah, they do make it slightly more annoying to colour the pages in the front, but with a thick enough wad of paper, enough sheets of scrap paper, it can be done. I have done it in the past. And I think it's worth it to get the pretty shinies. I'm a bit of a magpie, I think. I do love the pretty shinies. There we go. Maybe the other side as well. Yeah, possibly a little bit too crazy with that, but I like it. It's pretty. And I will have gone quiet now. I'm afraid to say I will have gone a bit quiet now. I'm really starting to enjoy this. It's coming together. It did go through a bit of an ugly stage, but most pictures do. If a picture doesn't go through a stage where I look at it and think, yeah, I really don't like that, then yeah, it's not really one of my colourings. So if any of you are looking at your pictures and thinking, yeah, you really don't like it, then just carry on, push on through. It works out in the end most of the time. You can usually find a way to work around things. And even if not, just take a break, put it away to one side, which I've also done before. And when you come back to it, you look at it and you think, yeah, that's not quite as bad as I thought it was in the first place. So yeah, that would be my advice anyways. Because this one definitely went through a real ugly stage where I really wasn't sure I even liked it. But now, yeah, I really like it. The cheek does seem to have dried fairly nicely there. It does look like a little blushy cheek. Not how I envisioned it, but yeah. And we are actually getting there now. There's not really much left to do. Looks like we do have a little bit more hair there that I haven't gone on to. These flowers, this branch, and I need to figure out what colour I'm doing the handle of this parasol. I can use this burnt ochre to shade the skin of her fingers. Not sure if I might just bring in the white grass just to shade the top of her fingers there, or highlight them rather, because the white makeup of her face didn't really work out quite the way I was expecting, so I might as well just make it her normal skin tone. Bring in the white and just highlight that normal skin tone. Shading this gold with the Van Dyke brown, seeing how that will work. Usually when I colour with a gold gel pen, I will shade with a dark brown colour and then go in for highlights with the white gel pen. Gives some vague impression that there's shiny gold there somehow. And as I've said, it's not a focal part of the image, so it's not where everyone's attention will be going. So we don't really need to worry too much, I don't think. And this is another tiny piece of jewellery here. It would be so much easier to figure out if we didn't have this outline of the coffee spill to work with, but I think we're working with it. We are working with it. I'm not entirely sure how this hair is going here, so we will, by my normal tradition, make it up as I go along. I do that a lot. We do have another sweep of jewellery coming round there, I think. Let me add in some white highlights for this hair. Yay, I can bring in some more crystals. Makes more sense because there is 2 strands that side, so there should be 2 strands this side. Or where do we come? We do come from there, I think. We are inside the spill. Go up there. These are not completely evenly spaced. I'm not that bothered, to be perfectly honest. I just think they look pretty. The main focus is going to be her face anyway, so yeah, anything else is not what people are going to be looking at first. What was I doing before I got distracted? This flower here. Or leaf or bud or whatever it is I was doing it. I'm going to do all the leaves, and then the buds and all that kind of stuff. And petals, all the same as this. Just so all the foliage is kind of in the same sort of style, I think. That's what I'm going to be working with. This is the burnt sienna that I'm using for the twigs. We do have a twig going off the edge here. And there. Again, kind of hard to see where the edges of this coffee spill are going. This leaf. Did I do these with the white? Gosh, I'm not entirely sure. But I'll bring some in now, just on the edges. Kind of blend it into that shading we've done with the pencil. Looks kind of right. I'll go with that. Maybe we might have to turn around now, so we don't put our hand in anything that's wet. Let's see. We have this twig is definitely inside the coffee spill, so I can go with that. Colour the twig with the burnt sienna. Light's coming from the top, so I'll leave the shading towards the bottom of this twig. Where I can. And where it goes behind her hair there, that would probably be shady bit shadow behind that leaf. I'm just going to shade that with the pencil dry. It's getting fairly late now, so we're going to be starting to lose light soon, especially with the bad weather we've been having lately. So many storms, so windy, so dark. It's not been good. So behind here we have some petals and leaves, so I'll shade those with the burnt ochre. I'm not sure if these are flower buds or leaves or a combination of both, so I'm just going to shade them the same as I did the flower with the burnt ochre and the Van Dyke brown, and then go around the edges with the white gel pen. As I said, to make all the foliage, kind of leafy bits look kind of delicate and soft, I think would be the word. As I said, the lady with her red makeup, she's going to be the main focus that people will be looking at, so as long as anything in the background looks vaguely like it's supposed to, I think we'll be good. As for the parasol, I still haven't decided what colour that parasol is going to be. Can bring in some washi tape and might be a little bit not too eye-catching though. I think I'm probably best to stick with a plain colour. Something that goes with gold. I don't want it to be red. I don't want it to take any attention away from our lady's face. I don't want to bring in any other colours if I can help it. I'm not sure I could make it really stark white. And I don't think that would really work either. It's a bit of a dilemma. Because I hadn't really planned. But then do I ever? It's gonna work on her fingers while I'm thinking on how to do that parasol. Don't think paper collage would work because yeah, it goes right off the edge of the paper, and I do like those patterns. Maybe I shouldn't have spoke too soon that I like those patterns, but yeah, I do. I think maybe this part of the umbrella or parasol should be this darker brown, walnut brown. This one. I'll give that some white highlights. That should make it come forward, bring it into the more into the foreground, so then in front of the flowers. I think this will work. We'll try activating it. I'll just try not to go into her hair or anything like that. Hopefully it's different enough from the burnt sienna, but I can always add some shadows behind it with the black maybe. Okay, once that's dried I'll add in the white highlights, but hopefully this flower here, that one should be alright to go over with the white gel pen now. And this is leaves rather than flowers. The whole point is for the kind of greenery to be delicate and pale, so at least that's the idea I've got in my little head. These are drying now. Bits I forgot to activate. I'll have to leave this for a while just to let that dry. Might give me some time to try and figure out what colour to do this parasol, because I really have no clue at the moment. I'll probably get back to you guys once I've done all this white outlining. Not the most exciting thing in the world to watch. I'll add a little bit of shading with this Van Dyke brown just to make it look like the petals are all separate. And these ones I might have to bring in a little bit more of that ochre as well. Shading on this one here was a lot more, I think. I got a bit more involved with that one because I was trying to figure out how to actually do it, so we'll just bring in a little bit more of that ochre as well. Doesn't have to be perfect, mind. I never really set out to make a masterpiece of a colouring. It's about the having fun, figuring things out, learning stuff. So yeah, even when things do go a little bit wrong, like her cheek, which still isn't 100%, yeah, at least you learn that that's not going to work. So I like to think of it as a good thing. We do have a golden centre on this one. I don't know what these flowers are. I think I said before they look like lotus flowers to me, but lotus flowers are like water lilies, aren't they? They look like they're sort of the same. These should be dried enough to go around now. I got some highlights to my twigs that I actually did end up activating just to see what the colour looked like. I'm not entirely sure I've used that one before and activated it, but it's all dried on time, so it's all good. We can add some highlights to this handle. Nice contrast between the light and dark, so that should hopefully bring that forward in front of these flowers. Okay, so I haven't really decided what colour to do this parasol, so my idea at the moment is to shade around it. This is the burnt ochre, and I'm shading around the parasol to make it look as if it's a slightly different colour than the actual background. I'm going to try and fade out this burnt ochre. Just to make the parasol look as if it's standing out from the background without actually painting it a colour. Bit of a bold move maybe, I don't know. So really keeping the parasol the same colour as the coffee page. And maybe just shading around the edges of this coffee stain maybe. Would that work? Just to give it a little bit of interest and look as if I haven't forgotten about it, but I totally can't think of any colour to do this parasol. I would love for it to be white, I think, but yeah, I don't think that's actually going to happen, so let's see how this works. We do also have this light yellow ochre that I picked out, so I could add in a little touch of that. How does that look when it's activated? Pretty bright. Blend that into a little bit of the white gouache along the edge. possibly. Just playing it by ear, no idea what I'm doing here. I don't want to bring in too many colours because the lady herself with her bright red is going to be the main feature. But I don't want anything, as I've said, I don't want anything to look as if I've forgotten it, even though I do usually forget at least one thing. A little bit of the burnt ochre there. Just to show these splashes a little bit of attention because they are some fun shapes. I do love the way they go flying off the edge of the page. It's still a little bit damp, so I can't really work into it too much. I'm probably going to end up having to call it there because anything else I'm going to do will be finishing touches once she's actually finished. So I'll zoom us out in a matter of seconds. Honestly, I'll zoom us out and do a little bit of an outro. Anything else will be little finishing touches now. Anything I've noticed I've missed, like little bits of hair on these edges of these splash lines. Nothing that's too important, I don't think, but yeah, the devil's in the details, as they say. And again, I don't want anything to look as if I've completely forgotten it. Even though I do tend to. I do that. That's just me. And that's about all we've got time for today, so I will zoom us out and do a little bit of an outro. There we go, I've zoomed us back out again now so you can see the sort of finished picture. I might go back in and work a bit more on the yellow of this parasol, add a bit more white on the edge, but I think that's about all I need to do unless I find something that I've completely missed, and there usually is. Might be a few more white highlights, but up till now I would say that, yeah, she's pretty much done and I'm pretty happy with how that's turned out. I do love the idea of painting inside the coffee splash, although it did prove a little bit more difficult than what I thought it would. I'm really happy with the end result. I think she's worked out really nicely. I do love the way that the coffee colour has worked for her skin with just the white around the edges. Originally I was planning to give her the full-on geisha kind of makeup, but yeah, I think as she is, it has worked quite nicely. The only bit I'm not 100% happy with is maybe this cheek here with the pink blush that I put on there that hasn't quite worked as well as I wanted it to. But hey, you can't win them all, as I've said a couple of times. And overall, I'm quite happy. I do like these flowers, the way that those are really subtle, standing out from the background with that white outline. And it was really fun to play with the watercolour pencils again, so hopefully you've enjoyed coming along with me on this little bit of an experiment today. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed watching, please like and subscribe. Take care everyone. See you in future videos. Bye!